I know what you're wondering. Why is he wearing that hat? That's a good question. Well, hello there, Apple Bites. This is your Apple Bite Rafael Tavares with our show here, The Writ, where, of course, me and you and I take a journey to become better writers. Yes. In this journey, I've noticed that we are beginning to bond. I really like that. Yes, you and I are bonding. I and you are bonding. We're becoming better friends through writing. And with this friendship, of course, you have shared your pieces with me. And now here I am with my episode of the Writ, sharing myself with you. Well, yes. But what I'm trying to say is, I'm going to share some of the writings you have sent me so that we can see what's going on and see how we are progressing. How do you like that? Yeah, sounds good. Well, why don't we start with our first writer? Our first writer has decided to take the writer's prompt. Of course, we all know what a writer's prompt is. It is a writer's tool that we use to get ourselves writing. Yes, and the writer's prompt that they used was, all I want is a normal cup of coffee. Now, I'll take a look here and see what they've written, and I'll convey it to you. If I don't knock down the set. Anyway, what our writer wrote was, what our writer wrote, see, mumbling, can't get away from it, is, whimsically, she entered the shop, trailing wisps of lust behind her, in the form of wandering gazes. Smiling charmingly, she propped herself at the counter, and as a hand sneaked out to tab his hat. Excuse me, handsome, but I'm not from here. I've been all over your lovely city, with all its fancy skyscrapers and plazas and fountains and monuments, but now I'm here to beg you for a nice, simple cup of joe. Nervously rambling out descriptions of the places that she simply must visit during her trip, the young materializes a small, boring cup of coffee that is placed before her with all the care of an offering before an ancient goddess. Smiling, she accepts the gift, and with all gazes upon her, tips the contents slowly down her throat in one long, steady stream. Returning the cup directly into his unconsciously reaching hands, she leans in to let him taste the coffee lingering on her lips. As his eyes open again, he follows the room's gazes to the door as a brief flash of color bids farewell. Before it, too, is gone from his life, but not his dreams. As we can see, our friend here has gone more of a poetic route. And of course, when you're doing these things, it's important to know that you don't have to do one thing. You can go in many different directions when it comes to the writer's prompts. The whole point is just to write, to do different things, to get your brain moving, to get working. And the whole point is that you want to take anything, for example, this behind me, which we'll get to later, and use it in many different ways because it can. You can take this as somebody asking a question. You can take this as somebody stating something. You can take this as supernatural. You can take this as drama. You can take this as which direction you want to take it. That's the whole point of these writer's prompts, is just to get your brain flowing, moving, and directing. Now, speaking of which, let us move on to our next writer. Our next writer has decided to use the writer's prompt. She jumped off the bridge, but she didn't fall. We all remember that writer's prompt? Yes, we do. If you don't, well, then go back to the previous episode, or the previous episode, or the previous episode before that, and find it, okay? Yeah, it was a pretty good one, so you might want to go check it out. No, we can wait for a second. Oh, you want me to continue? No problem. Anyway, the writer wrote, she jumped off the bridge, but she didn't fall. She glanced down at the rough waters below and wished he would just let go. The tears begin to coat her cheeks, and she begins to scream. A cringing wail like nobody has ever heard or seen. She kicks, she flails, in hoping he fails, but he's persistent to not let her go. And in knowing this, deep in her soul, she's locked in this hell until she can go home. Couldn't fit. Oh, sorry. I was about to read the little thing they told me at the end. That was what she wrote. And she was telling me that she couldn't fit the word supercilious into that. Well, that's all up to you guys. If you want to fit the thing or not, it's completely up to you. I usually just throw a word in there so you guys can have a little more of a challenge. Because trying to fit the word into whatever you're working in means you're working your brain juices, those things in there going ding. Yes, those things in there, they get flowing, they get moving because they need to fit this word. Like if I say, why am I wearing this hat? And I go, purple. Now you have to figure out how to put the purple into why I'm wearing this hat. Yes. Anyway, let's move on to the next writer. Our next writer decided to take our ABC assignment. You guys remember the ABC assignment? Yes, that's where you take the ABCs and you write something with each letter. Or you can take the whole alphabet and write one long streaming piece of work. So, our writer decided to write this. Absolutely, breathtakingly, carnal doesn't express feelings generated herein. Infernal jealousy keeping lonely me nervous. Overzealous plotting, quivering reunions, suffering these unrelenting visions while X yonder Z's. Very nice. Very well put together. And I can see that there is something holding this whole piece together. Just like when I did mines, there's something underlining. There is something there. Of course, those writers are kind of funny sometimes. But sometimes, for example, blue is just blue. It doesn't mean that it's blue because I was feeling a certain way when I wrote the whole piece and I wanted to convey that message. But sometimes it is. Writers were very fickle. Well, there you go. Now, some of these people put these pieces in the comment section below. If you want to do that, you can do that as well. And maybe I will share it on the show like I just did with these various pieces. As you can say, what I want you to take with from this week's episode is that these things are all different. It's probably totally different from what you've been writing, but that's the whole point. You can go back to the same writer's prompt and write a ton of different things. The point now is to get yourself writing. We can work on the logistics of things as they come along. And as our show progresses, I will be covering some of these logistics. This week, I just want you to know that you can write whatever you need to write. Get your juices flowing. Get everything working up there so that it becomes like second nature. You want to write. You're constantly thinking of something to write. This is important. If you are, for example, on your bed, on the nightstand, if you have a nightstand, or next to you, you want to keep a writer's pad, a writing pad, anything, so that in case you have a dream, you can write it down. Because dreams are important too. They help you work your imagination. So constantly keep writing. Writing and writing and writing is more important. Like anything else, practice makes perfect. And with writing, it helps you bring out the inner you. Well, hopefully you have enjoyed this week's show. If you have, let us know in the comment section below. If you really liked it, subscribe to that little button down there, subscribe, or press the button subscribe, or subscribe to the subscribe of the subscribe. Well, you know what I'm trying to say, subscribe. Yeah, this way you can see when the next show comes up, what's going on. It becomes a little easier to keep an eye on us if you really like us. So, subscribe on that button down below. I'd appreciate it. Leave your comments down below. Even better. Because this way we can get to working on other stories. Your stories, I can even read them here on the show like I just did. Alright? And you can leave suggestions and other things on the bottom too. Because this show is always evolving. Always progressing. Because it is the writer's journey. And with that, I will tell you, What? Oh, you want to know what the hat's about? Well, see, that's your next assignment. You will tell me why I'm wearing this hat. Why am I wearing this hat? Tell me. Let me know. I know what I'm wearing this hat, and it's a pretty good story. Or maybe it's a simple story. But it's a story, and I'll let you know. Alright? So, why am I wearing this hat? You tell me. Get creative. Have fun with it. And of course, if you want to check out what I've been doing, you can always go to drynex.tumblr.com. Now, with that, it's always good to leave you with a little bit of mystery. I will sign off. This is your Apple Bite Rafael Tavares signing off. Until next week, where we'll be on the Written Writ. Well, I'll probably say something like bananas. Why? Because I just am bananas. Anyway, till next week. You know, holding 80s poses is kind of difficult. But they usually smile. Hold on.